Hi there. If you're a property investor, landlord, or someone that's been thinking about getting into property investing, but a little bit unsure as to whether what's the best strategy to use right now, especially in this weird economic times that we find ourselves in, then this video is for you. Today, we're going to be going over the topic of options as a property investment strategy and how it's an essential tool to have in your property investor toolkit. So if you're watching this and you're wondering, who on earth is this guy? My name's Azur Thatcher. I'm the campaign director at Anizu Media. And people come to me when they're looking to get more customers for their business and grow their company. So just before I get into the meat of the show, I just want to let you know about an amazing event that I've got coming up. So if you are someone that's looking to get more leads for your business, perhaps you're looking for someone who a way to actually get more direct to vendor deals or direct bookings for your service accommodation or more tenants for your property, or you're looking for more buyers for your property, then you'll love this amazing event that I've got coming up. You can register for it for absolutely free by going to getleadswithvideoads.com/register. And I'll talk more about that a little later. But right now, I want to get into the topic of lease options and exactly what on earth are they. So let's first start off by explaining what an option is. So an option, or a purchase option as it is more commonly known, is the right but not the obligation to purchase a property in this example. So let's say, for example, you found a property and you found a motivated seller, motivated vendor, and they're willing to sell you the property, but they didn't need all of the money right now. They actually, so long as they could get the price that they were looking at, then they could be more flexible on the terms at which the deal would then go through. What you could then do is you could sign a contract with this vendor, and then you could go out there and you could find perhaps another investor that's willing to that wants the property more than you do, and they're willing to pay maybe a bit of a premium on that. Let's say, for example, you found a property that was worth £100,000, but the owner just wanted to get rid of the liability of paying the mortgage, looking after the place, and all that. And they said, based on that, I'm willing to take a little bit of a hit for a guaranteed sort of sale. And you say, look, I'll be able to buy it off of you in 6 months' time because it needs a little bit of work doing to it or whatever. What you could then do is you buy that property, that £100,000 property, maybe you buy it at like, I don't know, £90,000 as an example. They're happy, you sign the contract and do all stuff like that. You're then able to assign that contract onto another investor, which is basically you can sell that contract to another investor, and maybe the investor comes and buys that property and they're buying it at, let's say, £110,000. So now there's a £20,000 difference when the investor that's coming in then buys that property. The first £90,000 goes to the vendor, the homeowner, and then the rest of the money, the £20,000, then comes to you. The homeowner's happy because they've now got their house sold. You're happy because you didn't have to get involved and do any kind of work. And then the investor that's coming in is happy because they've got an amazing property that maybe they've got undervalued. Maybe when they spend a little bit of money and fix it up, they can force the appreciation up to, let's say, £150,000, something like that, by maybe adding a conservatory, doing a loft extension. They're a builder themselves. They've got family members. So the cost of labor is going to be super cheap for them. So there are ways to purchase a property without actually really having to put any of your own money in, as it were. Obviously, you're going to have to pay for the legal contracts to kind of set all of this kind of stuff up, but it's nothing like having to pay huge deposits, for example, 10, 25% deposits that you'd have to put down if you're buying in the conventional manner. So purchase options are a great way of controlling an asset without actually owning an asset. You have the right to buy an asset, but you don't have the obligation to buy that asset. So that's the important distinction for you to understand when it comes to purchase options. Now, moving on from there is another form. There are two other forms, in fact, which I'll go into in just a moment. But again, just before I do go into that, if I'm giving you information that you're hearing for the first time or changing your perspective on something and you're enjoying this content, then please do give me a thumbs up, because it helps me to know to make more stuff like this. And if there's anything I've said that you thought, wow, that's amazing, then please do give me a heart or a wow emoji or something along those lines. Lastly, if you know anybody that would find this information useful and should kind of know about this video, then please do let them know about it, make them aware of this video. Now, the second form of an option is what's called a lease option. Now, Similar to the purchase option, you're going to agree a price to buy the property off of the owner at some date in the future. Now, typically with lease options, these dates tend to be a lot longer in the future. So they might be 3 years, 5 years, 7 years in the future. Let's say it was in 7 years' time, and what you're going to do in the meantime is you're going to pay that owner a certain amount of money to, and therefore lease the property. Now, if you consider the rent-to-rent strategy, you're basically renting a property off of a landlord in order to then rent it to some other tenants yourself. You sit in the middle. The money that you get in coming in from renting it to your tenants, minus your expenses and all that kind of stuff, minus your money that you pay to the landlord, that's where your profit is. Similar thing in a lease option. You are basically leasing the property off of the owner, renting it off of them, but at the end of the term of your contract, instead of giving back the keys as you would in rent to rent, in this example, you're actually going to be buying the property off of them. Why it's really good and more powerful is because if you are leasing the property off of the owner for one set of amount, you're renting it to its tenant or tenants at a higher amount. What then happens is the profit, instead of you putting in your pocket or doing whatever you would as in with rent to rent, what you're actually doing is that money is going towards building a deposit on the house that you can then buy the house. And then when you execute the option and you buy the house, you've already got the tenants in there already. They've given you money that allows you to use as a deposit to then go and buy the house. So a lease option is a super powerful thing. It's slightly different from a purchase option, but you can see how it's a super powerful method there that you can then use to buy property at a sort of a delayed point in the future. Really fantastic option. But again, it only really works for landlords where homeowners don't need all the proceeds of the sale. So for example, if they needed to sell a house, they needed the proceeds of the sale to then go on to then buy another house. An option's probably not going to be the best tool for you to use in that scenario. However, if you've got an owner who is, able to be so long as you give them the price that they want, they'll be able to be more flexible on the terms and when they actually get that money, then this is a fantastic strategy. Great for people that have an unencumbered property, they've paid off the mortgage, and they're really just looking to kind of get rid of the property. They want rid of the liability of having a property or liability of ownership. So that's a fantastic strategy right there. Now, once again, I just want to touch on one of the things that's going to a lot of people say is, well, okay, these strategies are fantastic, Kazoo, but how do I get these homeowners, these vendors that are going to be open to these strategies? Well, I'm actually doing a free training on this coming up real soon. It's going to be absolutely amazing. I've been doing it one-to-one for the last 6 months with people, and people have been loving it, the rave reviews. So I've decided to do it to a wider audience, and you can go and check it out. Register for the event. I'll be closing the doors soon because I'm going to have a finite amount of people in there. But once the event kicks off, I'll shut the doors. But you can get into it now if you go to getleadswithvideoads.com/register. Now, I do want to touch on the third way that you can use the options strategy in property, and this is called the sandwich option. So what it does, it's a little bit of the purchase option and a little bit of the lease option, and you kind of put it together. So what happens is you agree an option period, as I've said, with the owner, and you're going to buy it at a set price at a set time in the future, and then in the meantime you're then going to be paying them rent, so you're leasing it from them. And then what happens is, on the other side, instead of you putting a tenant in there who's going to live in there and pay some money, what you're doing is you're going to put a tenant buyer into the property. Now, a tenant buyer is someone that thinks, okay, in some point down the future, I'm going to own this property. And that's fantastic, because what it means is, instead of them calling you as the landlord for, little maintenance issues, because they're the homeowner, they'll fix all those issues themselves. They'll pay all the bills themselves. So they'll pay you a certain amount. You might have a little bit of money, maybe £100 or £200, or a little bit of money between what they pay you and what you have to pay the homeowner, the vendor. And the great thing is, when you do this, typically tenant buyers will pay anywhere from like 10 to maybe 20% of a premium on the property. So if you've agreed to purchase the property buy the house off the vendor at £100,000, and you've got a tenant buyer that's going to buy it off of you in 5 or 10 years time at £120,000, You sit back, you haven't had to do that much work, and you've made a £20,000 profit. So this is why this strategy is absolutely fantastic. The options strategy, lots of ways that you can use it. I'll be interested to know if you're using it at all. And as I said, if you want any help kind of getting in touch with people that would be open to that, then make sure you go to getleadswithvideoads.com/register to see how you can get them. That's it from me for now. See you in the next video. Bye for now.